2022. Howie Roseman is navigating the first round. He's been talking to John Robinson, the GM of the Tennessee Titans, about acquiring A.J. Brown. There's a big need at wide receiver. There's also a big need at safety. The Eagles are they have a mid first round pick, but Kyle Hamilton's lingering on the board. So is Jordan Davis, national champion defensive tackle, combine freak of nature. You don't find guys like this walking around very often. Howie Roseman places a call with Nick Caserio of the Houston Texans, and he moves up to get the number 13 overall pick. And he's choosing between Jordan Davis and Kyle Hamilton. And the Eagles' organizational emphasis is on the defensive line. And Howie Roseman takes Jordan Davis. One pick later, the Baltimore Ravens take Kyle Hamilton.
Right.
Fran Duffy, your scouting reports on both those players and the sliding door scenario if the Eagles were to take Kyle Hamilton in the first round of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I had Jordan Davis who grew on me as the process went on. You know, I try not to let the combine, you know, and what happens there affect me too much, like, you know, move the needle too far. I will say that Davis is one where it definitely did swing me because they're just, as you mentioned, like there aren't many people in the history of the draft in recent memory who are that big, who test like that. Right. And so when you see that upside, and also when you combine that with the character and like Jordan Davis, like, yeah, like there were certainly issues with his weight and things like that at Georgia, but everyone you talk to, was with him in that building over the course of his career there. His 4 years down there in Athens. It's like, yeah, he's a great kid. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves being around him. It's not a work ethic thing. He's just got to get some things in order there. I think that when you're looking at Jordan Davis, like there was reason to believe that, hey, you know what? I know he didn't always show it in college, but this guy's got the ability to reach his upside. And so for me, just kind of looking at the pluses and minuses from my report, rare size, tall, thick, hulking frame, very unproductive throughout his career, but he had alien-like movements for a guy his size, tested like one of the best athletes in combine history, and showed better range than you'd expect for a guy that looks like he does. So some of those plays, we all remember the play that he made against Buffalo in 2023, where he's chasing Josh Allen out of bounds. There were a few of those plays throughout his career at Georgia as well. He had power for days, pocket pusher who slowly but surely could impact the quarterback. Like he would just constantly just push and push, run his feet, and eventually get there. Strong as an ox, very tough to move off his spot in the run game. Did not have a deep array of moves as a pass rusher. Didn't have a really developed pass rush plan, as I like to mention. Natural issues with leverage. At over 6 foot and a quarter. He had trouble with staying low. That said, he always attacked blocks with with tight hands, really heavy-handed on contact. It was just very tough to move. Double teams didn't get him off his spot either. My final summary here for Jordan Davis: 3-year starter at nose tackle in Kirby Smart's defense, who was platooned inside and was on the sideline for most third downs. But that's the extent of how he can be used that's not the extent, rather, of how he can be used in the NFL. Extremely strong and powerful. He wins with sheer mass and brute strength in college, and that will carry him over into the NFL. But he's also one of the most explosive athletic specimens in recent memory. Fits best in a two-gap scheme for a defense that lives in lighter boxes, where he can steal back gaps and make an impact in the run game. That's a given from day one. If he gets into a scheme that allows him to cut it loose and play upfield more often, then the potential is there for him to be a dominant three-down player. Good starter, ceiling to be a quality starter. And that's just kind of verbiage from my grading scale. High floor, high ceiling. So that's how I viewed Jordan Davis. He ended up being a top 15 player for me in this class. Now, my number 4 player in the class overall was Kyle Hamilton. So to me, like I did prefer Hamilton in that spot. And you mentioned like just the proclivity to go more towards the line of scrimmage is why the Eagles went this direction. But for me, for Kyle Hamilton, this was a guy that I noticed on film from his like freshman year on. You just see this guy flying around that Notre Dame secondary. I was just really, really taken aback by his skill set. Rare size for the position, consistently chases down from the backside, very tough, physical, violent player. Athletically, he had the suddenness to eat up ground and close fast. He was a little bit leggy. There's a little bit of times where he looked a little bit stiff. I say leggy, like all arms and legs. gears up and down on command though with ease, and he's able to govern his speed. There would be times where he'd be running the alley, playing deep down the field, and he'd come down close to the line of scrimmage. You see him speed up, speed down, come to bounce, and then he's got to speed back up again. So the athleticism was all there. Changed the numbers game in the box in a flash from depth. So he would go from A to B, and it's like, all right, it's a light box. Then all of a sudden, bam, like he's downhill, in a flash, and he's there to be able to make the play. Very good play strength, stout on contact, very powerful striker as a tackler. He could get a little bit grabby mid-route and when he was in man-to-man coverage against tight ends and against bigger wide receivers. I thought wide receivers in the NFL would probably eat him up. Not a guy I would probably want matched in the slot against wideouts all that often, but he was an enforcer over the middle versus crossing routes, showed that ability to impact the catch point, and he was a finisher on the ball, consistently productive, and had that ability to take the ball away from the offense. In the run game, good angles to the football, attacks with pace and discipline, violent finisher, like I said, had the ability to meet ball carriers with his chest at full speed. The final summary there for Hamilton: 2-year starter in their quarter scheme there for the Irish, where he played both safety spots, tall, long defensive back with the unique size for the position and traits to go with it. Explosive athlete who could eat up grass to close quickly on the ball, at his best in zone coverage, where he's both disciplined and rangy to disrupt the catch point. He's got the traits to match up against tight ends, but he's also shown some mixed results that so far in man-to-man. Thunderous alley defender who really improved as a tackler throughout his career. He's got a nose for the ball, plays with a violent, relentless demeanor. This is a starting safety who is best cast in a zone scheme, more of a traditional strong safety who's at his best attacking the line of scrimmage, but he is not a liability in coverage whatsoever. So I had a higher grade overall on Hamilton. There were questions a little bit about both. Obviously, you're talking about two primary positions when you're talking about like nose tackle versus and strong safety, but I had high grades on both players, but I liked Hamilton a little bit more.
First off, outstanding scouting reports there. I am no Fran Duffy. Quick to admit that. But because this is all documented, back then, myself, Bo Wolf, Shio Kapadia would rank our Eagles options. And yep. I ranked Kyle Hamilton the number one Eagles option that year. And my summary was this: don't overthink this. He's an elite player and could change the Eagles secondary. Hamilton checks so many boxes: production, size, range, instincts, ball skills. If the knock on him is an undesirable 40 time, then it's easy to rationalize because speed does not appear to be an issue on the field. The teams have GPS data that could offer a more advanced measurement of his speed. Hamilton would be a dream scenario and would be one of the team's best players from the first day of training camp. Now, in my mock draft that year, I had the Eagles going with Jordan Davis. And in my draft grade, I said I would have gone with Kyle Hamilton, but I'm not knocking them for Jordan Davis because I understand the organizational philosophy. And
that's how I thought about it exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's the way they're always going to think, that things being equal or near equal, they'll go for the upside of the player on the line of scrimmage, whether it's the O-line or the D-line, over the safety or the linebacker or the tight end or the running back, right? It's simply, and it served them well in the organization. The interesting thing is when you look at the sliding door scenario here, number one, they don't trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson that summer, right? Yeah. You have Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Epps as your starting safeties, presumably. Kyle Hamilton turns into, I still believe he's a different space. I think he's one of these players. He went to a great infrastructure in Baltimore, no doubt. But I think he's that good wherever he ends up.
I agree.
And I think the Eagles defense still makes the Super Bowl in 2022, right? Yep. Like, it wasn't as if Jordan Davis propelled them there. The one, so I think the sliding door scenario will be just fine for the Eagles, right? And maybe even better. The one thing I'm curious about, and there's really no way of saying this, is like the human dynamic that comes with all the Georgia players. Jalen Carter is a blue chip player for the Eagles right now. Does Jalen Carter have the same fit here without Jordan Davis? That's probably a stretch, right? I mean, Jordan, Jalen Carter is probably one of these guys. He's great wherever he goes, but that's probably the only like ramification that I could say makes me think more toward Jordan Davis than Kyle Hamilton. But I got to go Kyle Hamilton here.